Hi guys, it's Dakota. I hope everybody's doing well today. Welcome to my channel. Yes, I am upstairs once again in my devotion room because here we are, the end of April, and it is raining outside and it is very cold outside. So I wasn't going to haul everything over to the cottage. I swear, I feel like I'm never going to get my gardens done and that I'm never going to see my cottage again. It's just kind of how I feel. Or my workshop area that I use for my candle making and my oils and some different things that I'm doing. I see right here this door right there is open, and it's actually a closet. um, oh Lord, okay, I will. Look, see? So that's actually what I use. That's my craft room. So I have my table in there, managed to get that table into the closet. My husband built me some shelves going up this way, and I have a shelving unit beside the table here with shelves on it. I've got my um, printer in there, and some shelves on this side, and I do all of my beadwork in there. I do, a little bit of arts and crafty stuff in there that I play around with, because I'm not a crafter. I really can barely draw a straight stick man, that is for sure. But anyway, so here I am upstairs because it's way too cold to be outside or to be in the cottage. And I didn't want to haul everything over there in the rain. I got to haul my computer and all my stuff, and I didn't want to do that. All right, so here is what's happening. So, like I said, when we were shut down for COVID, my mind, I have to stay busy and stay active. And so I started working on something that is about to manifest in the next couple months. So, but what I did was, yeah. So when I knew that it was going to happen this year, I took the work that I had started a couple years ago, and I decided, oh, let me go through it. Let me fine tune it and make sure that it's, exactly how I want it. And in doing that, I've practically redone the whole thing. And it's been, and so now I'm stressed out because I feel like, I mean, we're the end, this is May pretty much. It's already pretty much May, right? I mean, it's the end of April. And so I start feeling stressed. If I start feeling a little pressured and, all that stuff. And anyway, so that has been going on. Well, at the beginning of the year for New Year, I did some spell work, and part of the spell work that I did had to do with this. And so now I'm at a point where, well, today when I went to draw my one card, it was really interesting, the tarot card that I pulled today, and I thought, oh, ugh, I don't like that card. That isn't me. But it turns out, yes, it is. And I looked up in several of my different tarot books just to, have that clarity that everybody, like, we're just kind of all on the same page with all the books and my intuition and everything about that card, that we were really kind of all on the same page about what that card meant for this particular. Well, I didn't ask any questions. I just asked, what do I need to be, working on? And it appeared. And I got it. I mean, I got it like boom, instantly I got it. So, so what I'm going to do today is, it is candle magic. Sorry, but that is what I work with. So it is candle magic. It is a grid that I'm going to be doing, but it is a type of spell work that requires feeding. And I'm going to talk about that. And it requires feeding. I'm doing a feeding of, well, I'm doing a feeding of 7 days, because for me to try to commit to anything more than that, I know that I may not be able to keep that commitment right now because the store is busy, and I'm still, I'm because I'm busy. and I am not going to commit to something. I'm not going to say I'm going to do this and then not do it, not follow through with it. So I know that I can commit to at least 7 days. So I'm going to do 7 days. Ultimately, you would want to feed your spell until the manifestation happens. That's typically how I would do this spell. And and then at the end, when the manifestation happens, then that's when you want to leave your offerings and your thanks, your gratitudes, and all of that. But so it's like working with the feeding of the spell is really working with, it's like working with an assistant. You know, I'm asking my guides and creating this energy to where it's helping me. You know, I'm creating it, and so I'm going to feed it. However, I'm only committing to the 7 days based on my intention and what I want in these next 7 days. But okay, again, so that being said, you can do this with anything at all that you are working with, whether it is something that you are trying to manifest, whether it is something you are trying to release. Um, Really, you can. Or if you need help with something, like you just need that assistance, you need that extra oomph, you know, to help you through. So it's like you're hiring an assistant, but just remember, if you're going to hire assistants, you don't want to starve them to death. So so I am asking the powers more than just a manifestation spell. I hope that makes sense. So anyway, I have my notes here, and I'm going to go through a couple of things with you because you know how I do. I like to make sure that I'm clear with everything. So what I'm doing is I'm going to be doing this grid, and the grid is based on the success of what it is that I'm trying to manifest. So it is about success. It is about creativity. It is about a business venture. It is about self-confidence. Um, and it is somewhat of a creative venture. It is somewhat of a creative venture, and constructiveness. Constructiveness is super super important in what it is that I am doing. And also, you know, I'm going to be calling in my ancestors, the ancestors that are on this journey, the ones that um, would be serving the best um, for this spell work. I don't know how to word that right at this second. Um, and so it is a spell for that. Um, I am going to be using in my grid, I'm going to be using garnet. I'm using 4 in my work. I'm going to be using 4 garnet, as well as, let me show you these. So here's the garnet I'm going to be using. I have 4 of them, and they're not real big, but they've been tumbled, and so they're nice and shiny. I'm using 4 of those, as well as I am using uh, Lumerian, um, I think they're called laser points or something like that. They are the real thin, I don't know if you can see that, the glare. So they're real thin, little finger point um, Lemurians. And so I'm going to be using those, and also, as well as using my candle. Now, the garnet, one of the reasons I chose garnet is because garnet was worn back in the day by ancient warriors, etc., and they wore it or they carried it as a protection amulet to protect against death and injury. And so even though this particular work that I'm doing is not really directed at at protection, um, But hey, one can always use protection, right? But I'm using it mostly for its success, its creativity, and the constructiveness. That was in a, gosh, it was like a gemology conscious, what was that called? Conscious gemology or conscious geology or something that I just was scrolling and scanning and just trying to find what I could about garnet, and that was in there, that it was used for this constructiveness, and I went, oh, like, yes, that is exactly what I am doing. I am constructing a business venture, I guess. It's not really a venture, but it's a business project, put it that way. It's a business project. I'm constructing a business project that I want it to be, and I know that it will be, because based on the work that I'm doing, that it will be successful. And there does need to be a hint of creativity in there. So I always need help with creativity. And I am asking, when I thought about the warriors and how they used it for protection, for death and injury and all of that. It's also because this garnet is called Ameline, Amerline. Oh, I can't remember. But it's dark red. It's the dark red one. And so then that reminded me of blood. And then of course, I start thinking of my ancestors' blood. So that's why I'm using that garnet, that particular garnet. And also it's also used, garnet is also used for peace, for victory, for tranquility, and it's also a love and commitment stone. So those things, hey, if they come about, they come about, but that is not the intention of my spell. However, I'll take it if it comes, right? I'm not going to shoo that away for sure. um, and then I had to look up that garnet means in Latin, and I'm probably going to like tear this word all to pieces, is granatus. I don't speak Latin, so I'm not sure. Um, and then it said malum garanatum, which means the pomegranate. And so there is a story about Persephone, um, the Greek goddess Persephone, and Hades, whichever story you believe about that. But anyway, Persephone ends up, we'll put it that way, ends up in Hades and, eats a pomegranate seed. So she's tempted by the pomegranate. And so that is another reason that is the Latin word for it, meaning the pomegranate. So I think that was really interesting. And the garnet is projective, which is what I want. I'm putting it out there. I am projecting it. And it is fire. It's red and it's fire. And who doesn't like fire? This girl does. So I thought that was really appropriate that it was fire, and I'm using fire magic. So that worked out really good for me. And let's see. What else? Okay. So what I'm going to do first, and I will explain everything as we go along, okay? So I'm going to put you down so you can see what's going on. I have my little tray here that my good friend gifted me at Samhain, I believe, or it was, no, I think this was gifted to me for my shop anniversary this year. It was 8 years. Yeah, I'm really excited. So I'm using orange today because orange is about creativity, and it is about constructiveness. It is about success. The fact that it's orange, it's not that red hot flame, but it is orange enough. It's sort of that yellow, beautiful, orangey flame that this spell is really, for me, kind of all about. I'm going to dress my candle. I chose dandelion, and I'm going to, actually, okay, I'm using dandelion because it's spring, and the dandelions are everywhere, and dandelion is yellow. Yellow is fire. It all makes sense to me. And it is a spring flower or weed, if you like to call it that. It is the bees' first meal. It's like one of their first meals, one of their first flowers that they go and eat, collect the pollen from. And this is my first attempt at this business creation that I'm creating. So everything just sort of made sense. It's new. It's the beginning of. This is a dandelion. It comes in the spring. It's new. It's the beginning of. It's the bee's food. And guess what? Bee happens to be one of my sacred. Well, not one of. It is my sacred insect. Not my spirit animal, but my little sacred insect totem, I guess. So anyway, it really made sense to me, and dandelion is really good for like for divination. It's really good for granting wishes, right? When the dandelion seeds and it gets that white puff ball, what did we do as kids, and what do we still do? I do as an adult. Pick the little puff seed, close your eyes, make a wish, and blow the little puff ball. So everything started coming together for me, which really, really excites me. Then I'm going to use another herb. I'm using lemongrass. And again, lemongrass is really great in aiding with your psychic powers, your intuitive powers, which those two things are super, super, super at the top of the list of what it is that my creation, if you will, honestly, it's a new class that I'm doing. I'm making it sound like it's this big thing, but it's a class that I'm doing. And I just haven't done the class before, so I just want to make sure that it's right. So those are the two herbs that I'm going to dress my candle with. And I think what I'm going to do for my candle this time, because I do want to dress it, and really the wax doesn't really hurt the plastic. It just pops off. I'll stick this tray like in the freezer for not very long, and all you do is just go like that and the wax just pops off. So what I decided to do is I'm going to light my working candle first, if I can. My ceiling fan is going. I have to do it under here. Hang on. I'm sitting right under the ceiling fan. See if I can get this to... Oh boy, that ceiling fan. I'm just going to drop some wax on there. I might have to turn the fan off. Well, that is not going to work. All right, let's see. Let me put you on pause and turn that fan off. That'll help. Okay, well, I ended up having to go into the craft room because as soon as I turned the fan off, I came and sat back down and the lighter didn't work. So I had to get a different lighter. Anyway, I've just dressed it. I hope you can see that in the lemongrass, the dandelion, and I added, today I added ginger. when I want something to hurry along, like to really, expedite it and get it moving, cinnamon, usually I'll use cinnamon. Cinnamon is pretty spicy and it sort of, helps to get things going. But this is still in the manifesting stages. So I'm still, I want to be able to feed this, and the project is complete, but I'm fine-tuning it, so that part of it has not been completed yet. Therefore, I don't want this to be wow, full of energy. I want to give it time to uh, marinate, if you will. So I'm using ginger. For me, it's spicy. It's a little less spicy, and so that's what I'm using. Okay, so there is my candle. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I have this little, I don't know what it is, like a little stand or something. I don't even remember where I got it. I'll face it this way so that you can see it. And the card that I pulled is from the Wildwood Tarot. I went with I pulled the Ace of Bows. And the Ace of Bows, I mean, really, it's all about um, that fire, that drive, that passion, that motivation, the desire, it's movement, it's fire, and the fact that it was the new. I mean, it's the ace, so it's the beginning of. So that's the other reason why I chose ginger. And, instead of using like red candle, I chose to use the orange just because I want this to take its time and really, seriously, I want it to really marinate, and I want my magic. I don't want that instant gratification. I want it to be real. I want it to be authentic. I want it to be right. So I did, I pulled this morning, and I just was like, yeah, no, that can't be. But that's what it was, and I pulled it from not the Rider-Waite, from the Wildwood Tarot deck. So there you go. It's all of those things. It's the bow in the Wildwood is wand. So there again, it's about that drive and the desire, motivation. It requires hard work, and it's not something, especially in this case, passion, not passion in a love romantic way, but passionate about what it is that you're doing. And the fact that it's new, it's the ace card. For me, and the intention, that the spell that I'm doing, the spell work that I'm doing, it is about creating that thing. I have the desire and I have the motivation and the will to do it. Because it's new, sometimes our self-confidence we get kind of nervous. Believe it or not, I can still get nervous. So anyway, I'm going with I'm going with it. I'm going with that ace of bows. So I'm going to set it right there. And then I'm going to take, this is the bowl that I'm going to, this is amethyst. It's an amethyst, little amethyst bowl. Maybe you can see it. I'm not sure what the glare looks like. So I'm going to set that right in front of it. The other thing that I'm using is, this is glass. This is hand-blown glass. I don't know if you can see kind of through it, but it's sort of rainbow, and it's just glass. It's pyramid shaped. And I decided to use this because I have some other pyramids, but the problem is the ones that I have, they're gemstones, and so each of those have their own properties, and I really didn't want to get too much stuff going on up here with different energies and all of that. And yet I love the elements to be involved. And so I decided, and I still like the, the four-sided pyramid. It's the witch's pyramid, and uh, which is what I do follow that, but I didn't want to use a quartz crystal because I'm using Lemurian. I didn't want to use, I think I have a carnelian. I didn't want to use a carnelian, even though carnelian is about creativity and stuff. I just wanted something that was neutral, and so I am using glass. And here's the thing with glass, don't forget, yes, it is element of earth. Glass is element of earth because it's, I'm sure like melted sand or however they make glass. But, it's earth for me is grounding, and I need a little bit of that. Woo, all is well, all is going to be okay. All right. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put my grids. Actually, let me put my my candle. What do I do with it? Here it is. I'm going to put my candle in there. I'm just going to drop some wax in it. As some of you know, I don't really like candle holders. The wax, the candles melt down, and it just sort of gets all over the candle holder, and it's just kind of a mess. So I actually prefer to use wax. It's really, really easy cleanup until it gets on your cloth or your table. And I'm just going to set my candle in there and let that wax dry a little bit. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is take the extra herbs that I used to dress the candle, and I'm going to sprinkle it inside my bowl. Now, this is hard to do from behind. So when I get ready to feed my spell tomorrow, I will, and one of the things about feeding that I have found, you don't always have to light your candle during that time and sit with it, but it certainly doesn't hurt. You're still feeding, and you're still being grateful, and you want that energy to be mixing with you. But if you don't have time to sit with it, at least go ahead and feed it. And then when you do have time that day, if you'll just light it, remember that's what we're doing. We're sending that out, our request out into the universe. So it does need to be lit every day. And this is not a 7-day candle. So I am not going to let this burn down too much today or tomorrow or the next day. I will watch it, and I make sure that, it's going down in a speed that I need it to, so that I can have it all 7 days. All right. Then I'm taking my garnet, and I'm just going to put the garnet, like, again, this is really hard for me to see because I'm doing it from behind so that you guys can see. I'm going to just place the garnet. I've got 3. So I'm placing the garnet around the base. I have to move this for a second. There we go. All right. And then I'm just going to take my points. I'm using 4 points. Now, I like to grid. For this one, I'm going to grid, well, typically I would grid with the elements, but because I'm going to be moving this when I'm done, it's going to be sitting somewhere else. So right now, it doesn't really matter which direction I grid, but I am going to grid offset of the garnet. So, and I'm going to grid, so I have points on these, and I'm going to grid with the points in, to out, because I want the energy of what it is that I'm trying to manifest to happen, if that makes sense. And I want the energy of what my intention is to go out into the universe. So I'm just going to put one here. Oops, one out. And one out. Right there. Now, if you want, I do have a fifth one that I do typically use at the top of or the base of, and you can use that too if you want. So it'd be like that. It would be right here at the base. You can see that. And that's it. I want to, so again, what I will do is I'm going to state my intention each time I light my candle. I'm going to state my intention. I'm going to feed it the same herbs that we dressed it in. The lemongrass, the dandelion, and the ginger. It's just a pinch of each day. Light it each day, feed it each day, and I'm just going to hold my intention each day. At the end of my spell work, maybe at the end of the candle burn, I will give my gratitudes, my thanks, and then I will leave an offering, and I will dispose of the herbs and the candle, appropriately. Herbs you can put right out in your gardens or whatever, as long as they're not poisonous. Most animals won't eat a poisonous herb, but some do. And the candle, if there's remains left of the candle wax, because it is not beeswax or soy, I dispose of them in the trash. It's just how I do. You can do however you want. Now, something that I wanted to mention to you about this particular spell, all right, or this particular spell work. I have done, and I'm going to lift this screen up because, well, I'll leave it down so you can look at it. You might be taking notes, I don't know. So I wanted to tell you, I have used this technique several times. This technique was taught to me by someone, but it was taught to me in a very, very different format, and I still to this day use that format because it worked for me so well that it was like I still can get goosebumps just thinking about it. But I since then have used it in different types of formats, and doing a spell like this, a spell work like this, I have used a similar spell work using a garnet. And I'm sorry, I meant to start that off by saying if you decide to use garnet, because garnet, I love garnet. It's one of my favorite stones. And I only recently, probably about 5 years ago, actually started using garnet the very first time in a spell work. And it was tremendous. The power, the energy was totally awesome. I loved it. So I have used that garnet also as well. Now, when we think about, like I said, the warrior, and this is one spell that I did that worked incredibly well, and it's something that I get asked about a lot at my store. The particular reason, like, hey, I've got this issue going on. Can you help me with it? And even though I don't give this particular spell, watch my video, and maybe they can get some ideas. But since a warrior, would carry or wear a garnet talisman for protection against death and injury, it deflects those energies that are not serving of the highest good. All right, so that also works with energies regarding people. When we get into a situation where people are gossiping or telling lies or just, spreading rumors or saying things that they shouldn't be saying, um, and it's just, really, it's just total untruth. And they do it for their own popularity gain, I guess, and their own um, egos, to feed their own egos. What the garnet does is it really deflects that energy, and that energy rebounds. And what they don't realize, that energy kind of goes unnoticed, like it just goes unnoticed. And eventually the person who is the perpetrator in that situation um, suffers the result of their own negativity. Um, and then because of that, uh, eventually then the truths come out. So it's really, garnet is a really awesome stone, I think, and I love using this format. It's simple and it is powerful. If you look at this, it's powerful. I have an assistant. I have something to focus on, something to keep me in check as to what it is that I'm doing. Um, I have my source. This is going to be my source, and I have it written down somewhere. Um, oh, so like the object or the intention, the focus of the importance, and that's where you need to ask yourself, like, what are you doing? What is it that you want? What is it that you want? And here's your focus of intention. And then instead of a center stone for a grid, because most crystal grids obviously have a crystal in the center as their generator, as their central axis, as their axis, anchor, as their antenna to the universe. But I choose to use fire because that is my strongest connection to any of the elements. And then your surrounding stones act as the satellites, or the broadcasters, if you will, to the universe. It's like sending out the message to the universe, and the universe answers through and brings it all up into you. So I really love this setup. I love it, and it's so simple. Grids are grids can be extremely extravagant, or they can be extremely simplistic. Um, and this one for me is not simplistic for me. It has kind of a lot going on, but you want to plan it out. You want to plan it out because, like I said, I used the glass pyramid because I follow the witch's pyramid. I use the points of the pyramid. If you understand the witch's pyramid, I'm not going to go into it. I do use the points of the pyramid, and and the powers that be. I do have the energy of some of the stones, the crystals. Like I said, my main source is my that I work with all the time, that I feel the most energy from and the most power from, is fire. So I'm using a candle as my center stone. You can use a pyramid as your center stone, a crystal, an amethyst. You can use an obelisk. You can use whatever you want, whatever you feel. What are you connected with? And then think it out. What are you asking? What are you wanting? Make sure that you're extremely clear with your words. Um, but like I said, if you've never worked with garnet, you might want to try it. It's an excellent stone. I've used it for several things, and I was extremely um, content and happy with the results and of a couple of the different spells that I've used it with. So, yeah, so there you go. And like I said, you can use this for this setup for any intention that you want. It could be prosperity, it could be a job, a move, a new house, a baby, a romance, and it could be on the releasing end, releasing the gossip and the the haters and the ego checkers and all of that. Um, but yeah, so it's been really really great, and I love it. So I am going to light this candle, and I'm going to sit with my intention for not long because I have a lot to do today. And I've already fed it. It's already had its first feeding. So tomorrow I will come back and I will do the same, and I will light it and I will sit with it for a few, put those intentions out there, and feed it. And there you go. Yeah. So I hope you liked it, and I hope to see you next week. Bye, guys.